Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. We're on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Ruff, Charlie Adam and Tam McManus here with us in the studio to talk football. And of course, we'll talk about AGM's financial results. It dominates our thoughts around about this time of year. Celtic's certainly a fiery AGM with a few disgruntled fans inside Celtic Park to witness the AGM, and some of them obviously clearly wanting some of the board replaced. We'll get the thoughts of the guys on that. If you're not winning titles, they can be feisty affairs. They can show a certain amount of unrest, Ruffy.
Yeah, it's the one and only chance that fans actually get to be sitting in a room with the people who are making the decisions, and they want answers. Some of them you would agree with, some of them you wouldn't. It's generally about the football matters, but I would have thought the football inside it, I think the majority of Celtic fans would be happy the way things are actually going. It's more of the things that are happening away from the football that they want answers to, and they're not happy.
Yeah, I think the only people who maybe have got an easier reception was the interim CEO, Michael Nicholson, and Ange Postecoglou. As far as the people who were in the spotlight and the target was set for them, one of them was the chairman, Ian Bankier, and one of the board members, Brian Wilson. It was basically a situation where I think, one aspect of it is, Tam, that the possible appointment of Bernard Higgins as the safety and security advisor is not going down well with some sections of the Celtic support, and they clearly at this point have a vote of no confidence really in these two. Their election back to the board was not clear. So what happens is everybody then heads out and places a vote on the way out of the AGM, and then you obviously find out if they've been re-elected. Now,
when do you find out if they're re-elected?
Well, I wouldn't imagine it'll be straight away, but it'll be not too far before the end of today, I would imagine. And the reason that I think both of them will be back on board is because what happens is you get the disgruntled fans who are shareholders who've got a certain percentage, and then you get Dermot Desmond and all the big hitters who've got the massive amount, and they vote them back on.
Yeah, listen, it's something that I'm not really that aware of, but I'm sure that it'll be back in. As you said, if the shares are in the hands of Dermot Desmond, the majority of them, and as we said, it's all about Higgins. Really, the Green Brigade seem to be not wanting him to be appointed, and that seems to be the protests. I think it was up at Dundee, Charlie, as well, with the tennis balls and all that. So we need to wait and see what happens with that, but it'll be interesting to see if that comes out towards the end of today.
Yeah, here are the key points from that AGM, and some of them you may well want to comment on. And as we mentioned there, Ian Bankier and Brian Wilson's re-election went to a vote. The board voted against Resolution 12, which related, of course, to the granting of Rangers a Euro licence in 2012. This has been an ongoing situation here where there's a group of Celtic supporters who are determined to try and get Celtic to take that whole resolution to UEFA on why Rangers were granted a Euro licence when eventually from administration they went into liquidation. Ian Bankier refused to give assurances about Bernard Higgins' appointment, which of course annoyed some of the supporters. And over and above that, I think Ange Postecoglou will be supported in January. The club are working to appoint a director of football. And it's the first AGM in a long while, I think since maybe 2003, Ruffy, that Peter Lawwell was not sitting up there in that boardroom.
Yeah, he was a big part of Celtic. We knew he pulled the strings to just about everything at the club. So that kind of figurehead hasn't established yet. And I think anybody's established themselves to be the main man yet. We'll have to wait and see who that is. But certainly when you're a director, you don't want to go to things like that and hear disgruntled fans. You want it to try and be smoothly, and mostly it's smoothly when you're winning things and you're winning leagues and you're winning cups, and sometimes some of the questions you get at the AGM can be a wee bit ridiculous, but the ones that you've said there, if people have got a disgruntlement, then they've every right to sort of put it out there.
Yeah, it's not the most enjoyable. When I was a young reporter, Charlie, going to them, any of the AGMs across the Premier League clubs, you would go to them and you think to yourself, okay, there's the business aspect of it, there's a couple of good lines that come from supporters who like a noise up, and then you get the unbelievably angry supporters who've got maybe legitimate claims against the club and not happy with the way they've conducted themselves. So there's a real mix. But once you get to 5 or 6 AGMs across the board, you actually get, it can become a dull affair. Celtic and Rangers is usually based on, if you're winning the title, everything's rosy in the garden usually.
But also Celtic, these fans have not had an AGM in front of these board directors properly for 2 years because of the pandemic. So they're venting their frustration of not losing the 10 in a row, and other situations as well. So no, listen, it's difficult, but the more Desmond is putting money into Celtic Football Club, the club will always be right, and always have small minorities that are not happy with certain things, and we'll just have to see what comes out of it. But Michael Nicholson obviously got a good applause, and looks like he might take on the mantle of Peter Lawwell. So we'll see where that goes. But no, it is a difficult situation, these AGMs, and the fans, because they put money in, they want to have an opinion.
Yeah. Now, again, it's difficult to quantify how many people are unhappy among the Celtic support about Bernard Higgins' possible appointment, but we will get a real gauge of the split in the percentages of, for example, Ian Bankier going back onto the board as chairman and Brian Wilson being voted back on board as well. But there are undoubtedly people who have causes or indeed concerns over certain things about the way the club is conducting its business, and that's certainly one of them that's come to the forefront over the last couple of weeks. It's never just about football these days. There's lots of things that can happen off the park, as Ruffy will tell you. In fact, I think, Ruffy, you mentioned on several occasions you've been to a board meeting and you've had the ability to read the board notes upside down.
Yes, it's very technical in some departments. It's when you're looking at the spikes. There's the spikes, like obviously the accountant passes the figures over and it's all on paper, A4, and it's the spikes of profit and loss, that determine where you are this year, where you were last year, where you were 5 years ago. And the first meeting I went to, I was sitting there and I had the spikes upside down for 15 minutes. I thought we were doing particularly well.
Listen, at least I never turned out any worse than the Falkirk one, did it?
Yeah, well,
it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, it could have been a lot worse, actually, full scale. Of course, the good thing about it with the spikes, Ruffy, you were able to draw and keep the coloured pencils inside the lines.
Yes.
So that was... That was fantastic. One other thing which I think was a nice and touching photograph was, of course, Celtic paying tribute to Bertie Auld just at the main entrance of Celtic Park. As you can see, Bertie's name, "You'll Never Walk Alone," up there alongside the star at the front of the stand. Michael Nicholson, Callum McGregor and Ange Postecoglou laid a wreath yesterday in memory of Bertie, a Lisbon lion and an absolute legend, and the tributes coming in for him right across the football world has been absolutely fantastic. He was a character and a half, and Ruffy, certainly on Monday's programme with Alison and Tam, paid a fitting tribute to the great man, and I'm sure that will continue when it gets closer to his funeral service as well. And interestingly enough, I think the great and the good of Scottish football will all be coming together towards the end of the week, Ruffy, just to show their appreciation and pay their respects to Walter Smith. There was a private funeral service, and this one is for people who were in direct contact with Walter, who worked with him in the game, people from all sorts of football clubs across the United Kingdom who will have representation there, just to, say their farewells and maybe recollect some great times with Walter.
Yeah, and there'll be a lot of big people there. The paths that he's crossed through football has been large, and it'll be interesting. We always like, you see the people who are at the funeral, you see the photographs, and it'll be amazing that some of the people from all the clubs that he's been at. But I'm sure, although it's a private one, I'm sure the fans will be there as well. I mean, I remember David Cooper's, and it was lined for miles with fans, although it was just a private service in the church. It was just lined with supporters, and that's what supporters are like. That's why a lot of clubs should really appreciate more the supporters mean to their club. Yeah,
it is, after all, a game. It's a game we love. It is only a sport, and sometimes, at times like this, in tragedy, with the loss of so many greats, people realise what life's all about and how important it is, and all the differences and the divisions are swept aside, Charlie. Walter and Bertie personify that over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and you know, it doesn't matter, both sides of the old firm, because they're the two biggest clubs in Scotland, that once a tragedy on either side of the city happens, they come together and the respect is there. And you know, Bertie Auld was something I never ever met in my life, but just seeing videos of, obviously since his passing, with yourselves and other videos that people like John Hartson put up, and that just seemed a full life character and just out there, you know, and you could see why, you know, be a popular member of that Lisbon Lion team and Scottish football over the years. So no, it's always sad when these great people pass away, but you know, the memories of them will always remember and be remembered at Rangers and Celtic.
Yeah, 83 Bertie Auld was, and you know, as Charlie mentioned there, as you started to look over them all, Tam, the one that actually caught my eye, and it wasn't that long ago, he might have been 75, and he's standing up on a table in a sponsors lounge at the window, banging it, cheering a Celtic goal, and I thought, 75, that's not bad, eh?
Still time for you, Ruff, you've got 5 years, son.
Yeah, it's just getting him up on the table is going to be the problem.
This is getting other things up, it's no problem.
The other thing was he was a singer.
Oh,
I love the singing.
Him and me, Jinky.
Yeah.
You know, would sing at a drop of a hat anywhere. You know, and you're right, they just brought life to anything they went to.
Yeah.
You know, that's what they were like.
Absolutely. Okay, I think we've got lots to talk about. Try and cram in as much as possible. I'll read out some of your messages as well and some of the points that people are making on our YouTube feed. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, and you'll get the notifications of the programme. If you download the PLZ Soccer app, you can watch it at your leisure. You can also get all the latest breaking news from Scotland, England, across the UK, Europe, and of course globally as well. So we'd love you to do that. But thanks to the countless amount of people who are subscribing to our channel and watching it now, because it's regularly weekdays at 4 o'clock live on YouTube. Charlie, we didn't get a chance to speak to you about Monday night's game. This is the first time we've had to get your thoughts on it. It was great for us. We were waxing lyrical about it. Scotland really played well. How would you rate that performance?
That is probably the best performance I've seen in a long, long time for Scotland. You know, it had everything. Goals, you know, top performances from individual players. Certain players going to another level. I feel improving all the time. You know, special mention John McGinn. I think, you know, I knew he was a good player, but I just think every time he's playing for Scotland now, he's maturing into, you know, one of the key players, and his development as a midfielder now is just becoming a top midfielder. And he was excellent again. But the whole team, from the goalkeeper straight through to Shea Adams, was very good. But you know, 6 in a row is very hard to do, and let's say we'll just hope the luck of the draw for the next set of games can be in for March, because listen, we're in a good place. Good, you know, Steve's got them flying. Everybody wants to be there, apart from Ryan Fraser. But it's it seems to be a good camp to be in, and these lads, you know, are taking pride in playing for Scotland, and it's great to see, and everybody's looking forward to watching Scotland again. Yeah, there is a real excitement about the draw now, because we now know after last night's games exactly how this draw is going to pan out, the seeded and the unseeded. So there's your seeded teams: Tam, Portugal, Scotland, Italy, Russia, Sweden and Wales. And then the unseeded teams: Turkey, Poland, North Macedonia, Ukraine, Czech Republic and Austria. What do you make of it? Who would you like to play in the semi-final and avoid, if we could get there in the final?
Who would I like to play? I would probably like to play Turkey or Macedonia, North Macedonia. I'd like to maybe avoid Czech Republic, because I just think they've got a wee bit of an Indian sign on us. I think they're a decent team. But honestly, genuinely, I wouldn't fear any of them at home. I'd take any of them at home. And then obviously I think the next tie is a kind of flick of the coin into it to see who's at home. So listen, that's going to be much more difficult when you see some of the seeded teams there. But the first game I don't see us having many problems with any of the teams that are packed Hampden if we play the way we played against Denmark. Yeah, strangely enough, Ruffy, if I was picking one team to avoid in the unseeded section, it would be Poland for me. Because I think when you have a world-class striker of that stature, he could really cause mayhem in our back line. And if you were getting ahead of yourself and thinking about the final, I'd quite happily take Sweden or Wales. Yeah, well, I fell into this trap a long time ago when I sat on STV and somebody said, who do you fancy? And I says, we'll take Peru and Iran.
You know, so...
Did you actually say that in the programme?
And so did Sean Connery. Sean Connery was on the STV show and he picked Peru and Iran as well.
Yeah.
Because you pick them because you look at the other ones.
It's a big name drop for a fair, innit?
That was me and my mate Sean.
You and Bond.
By the way, we'll not beat that today, by the way. He's been, and he does it so casually as if it's the norm, you know?
Correct me if I'm wrong here.
You're wrong.
Right, no, right. The seeds are going to play the unseeds.
Yes.
Right? Say an unseed beats a seed.
Yes.
In the next game, that means we could get an unseeded team if we win our game.
Yeah, because it's the draw, it's the final
so
place.
you could get any of these ones in their second game.
Yeah.
Rather than worrying about the
Yeah,
other
but
ones
really,
on the other side.
but you're thinking the same, aren't you? Are Austria going to be Italy?
They're going to have to win away from home.
Charlie, they're not all winning games. They're not convincing. They're not running away. Every one
European
of the
champions are in
I
there.
know, all these teams there got beat the other night. You know, and they're not like running away with it like Denmark did. You know, they're all Portugal. What about them?
Portugal.
Well, in the form they're in the new. Who did they draw with the other night? Nothing each.
Ireland.
Ireland. Come on.
Yeah.
At home, I would fancy us against any of these.
Any team.
Yeah, I'm not saying we beat them, but
Italy.
I'd fancy.
Italy.
They're not rolling anybody over the now. I know they've got quality.
European
players.
champions.
European
I know they are,
champions.
but since then they've not been rolling over anybody.
Yeah.
All right, we don't want Italy.
You are absolutely on form.
When was the last game?
I wouldn't want to play Poland or the Czech Republic in the unseeded.
Yeah, same here.
I'd play anybody else, the unseeded ones, and then it's the luck of it. It's just
Big Suter will have Lewandowski in his pocket.
Yeah. Now, here's the situation.
Something you never thought you'd ever hear.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. Scotland face one of the unseeded nations in the World Cup semi-final at Hampden Park. That's March 24th. If they get past that team, who's one of the unseeded teams, they'll play the winner of another semi-final on March 29th, and that's winner takes all for a place at Qatar. The other semi-final Scotland will be paired with, and host of the final will be drawn at random during the playoff draw. So, and then it's the toss of the coin, you're home or
And
away.
is that a definite toss of a coin
Yes.
to play home or away?
Yeah. Well, what do you...
Oh, I thought it would have been in
What?
your form, like the way you're playing or
Rankings or something
like
maybe,
that.
No, that's
you know?
unfair. That again favours that favours like teams who have got a greater stature over the last decade than us. Remember, we're just slowly but surely getting back from misery, Ruffy. We've just qualified for European nations. Would you rather it was a kind of a Rod Stewart one where you just go out for the afternoon and then come in and
I'll
take that.
yeah. It's listen, the fact that we're actually in this position is fantastic, Charlie.
Well, we said earlier in the group we were going to be nowhere near it. After results at the start.
Yeah.
They've done brilliant as a group of players and staff to get us into this position. You know, who fancied against Serbia? Nobody. Away from home in Serbia to get a result.
They've just beat Portugal away.
Austria.
you know.
I mean, I thought Austria would be
And we had a big result there. So
Yeah.
no, I think you've got to take anybody unseeded and see what happens. Whoever you get in the next draw, like you say, there might be a shock where an unseeded team beat a seeded team, but you know, just focus on one game and then go for there.
We're unlucky, Peter, not to qualify automatically. 23 points out of 30.
That was unbelievable, wasn't it?
Do you know what I mean?
Lost one game.
23 points out of 30. We're not, some of the groups have been won by 23 points. You know, we finished second and no qualified, so we're really unlucky, to be honest.
Yeah, the one thing about the games the other night there, I actually thought Belgium would trounce Wales, but it didn't happen. Wales played a really good, high-pressing game. Their manager, Robert Page, well happy and proud of what they achieved.
We couldn't believe it the other night when you saw the results. You know, Scotland, Denmark, and then you saw Portugal finishing second. Italy couldn't get a goal against Northern Ireland, and you're thinking, wow, you know, what's going on here? But that's football. That's football. And the good thing is we don't have to, and we didn't want to rely on other teams. We wanted to take control of it ourselves.
The one thing about it, I mean, I know a lot of my mates have said, and at Tam they'll say, oh, we take Wales as well. The one thing that I always fear is any of the countries who've got a world-class player, and Bale on his day can just dismantle the best of them with a run, a header, you name it. Once he gets on that left peg and curls one. So, you know, I'd rather we come up against someone that didn't have that special player.
Yeah, I agree. I think Bale's a top player, but if you offered me that right now, Wales at home to get into the World Cup, I'd take bite and hand off.
Yeah,
I think we're a better team than them. I know they've got a world class player, but I think overall, in terms of a team at Hampden, 50,000. If we play the way we played against Denmark and at that tempo, with the midfield players we've got in there, and Big Shea Adams I thought was brilliant all night as well, maybe Dykes back in, I'd fancy us against Wales.
Yeah, I'm glad as Charlie mentioned there about John McGinn, because if anything, you know, I watched him at Hibs, you will have seen him on countless occasions. There were a number of occasions where, you know, he'd stick that big backside in there, but then he'd play a pass, give the ball away. At times when he was I thought he settled in really quickly at Villa. But there are occasions where he has given the ball away, and slowly but surely, I think Charlie pinpointed there, the maturity of him now is he just made the right decisions the other night there constantly.
Yeah, he is. He's getting better. He's making the right decisions, and as Charlie will tell you, the more right decisions you make on the pitch, the better you look. You know, especially as a midfield player, you can't give the ball away all the time. At international level, particularly for Scotland, you've got to keep the ball. And he's dynamic. You know, he keeps the ball, but he always looks to try and play forward as well. You know, he's pretty positive. So,
do you think McGregor's having an impact on him?
I think McGregor is top notch. I think that midfield three is so good. That's one of the best midfield threes I've seen for Scotland. You know, Gilmour just sitting there and he's got the energy. McGregor and McGinn beside him. It's a really, really strong midfield three. And John McGinn, for me, you know, there was people, a lot of Celtic fans. I remember he was at Hibs and I couldn't understand why Celtic hadn't signed him. You know, I said it at the time, and had Celtic fans on social media saying, "No, not get a game for Celtic. They wouldn't get a game for Celtic." They're still saying it now. He wouldn't get a game for Celtic.
Yeah,
because they're stubborn. But for me, it's a massive, massive boo-boo, and probably one of the reasons why Brendan Rodgers, I feel, left the club. That Celtic never paid the money and just gave Hibs the money instead of messing Hibs about, and eventually they lose them to Villa.
High praise indeed, Charlie, from Tam there on the midfield, because Gilmour is a joy to watch. McGregor for me makes other players in the team's job easily, because he always shows for the ball, and he'll take them out of difficult situations, and he keeps the whole thing. It's almost as if he's keeping the well-oiled machine.
Like, listen, Scotty was a brilliant captain for Celtic. Do you think Scott Brown leaving Celtic's helped Callum again to evaluate where he is in the club, as in he's now the next, you know, main guy in the club, and he's took it on board, and he's building into that captain by his performances on the pitch. You know, I think there's been a massive improvement in Callum. Listen, I think he's a very good player, but since Bruni's left Celtic, I think Callum's progressed again, and taking that responsibility. I see it now. Him and Gilmour seem to have just a relationship at the moment that it's working, and they understand each other, and it's been brilliant to see. And you know, looking at now with Stephen going to Aston Villa, I think that John McGinn's going to be huge for them. Yeah. I think Stephen can then improve his game again, and take him to another level again, because you know he's going to be massive for Aston Villa going forward.
Yeah, I think Ryan Christie should take a lot of credit as well. You know, he's taken over that Nazy job. You know, just feeding off and just being a menace around about the 18-yard box, you know, and he's got a lot of energy as well. And particularly him going down south as well, he's going to be playing with better players, and he'll get better as well.
But McGregor, for me, is the best midfielder in Scotland.
Oh, yeah.
I think McGregor's the best midfielder in Scotland.
All right, calm down.
Yeah,
I'm still playing, remember?
Yeah, no, but you're not the best midfielder with the most money.
No, I know what you're saying.
Do you know what I mean by that?
He's terrific. Yep. He is a terrific player. I just, like you said, I think he's maturing as a player and a captain. I think he's gone to another, you know, playing really well and instrumental to what Celtic are trying to build at the moment.
The one key area, the big unanswered question, never mind whether Scotland can get semi-final and final, and because it is a big ask. I mean, I think we're all just getting to that really crazy point again where we're starting to feel good about ourselves. You know, I can't see Steve Clark doing the carpet advert that Ali McLeod did,
the bus,
and the open top bus. There'll be no waving at Hampden for a tenner, Ruffy. But a big unanswered question in Scotland at the moment is the Rangers manager. Charlie, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst is the red hot favourite. I think some bookies are stopping taking any bets on it. It's taking a wee while, which leads me to believe that, you know, I don't think the wages will be a problem for him. Would the sticking point be getting his backroom team, or maybe the fact that he would have a vision that would need a substantial amount of money?
Well, whoever will come in will look to try and improve what's already been done at Rangers. You know, he is coming into a healthy position. They are top of the league with 4 points in a semi-final, still in Europe. So there is that added bonus. But you know, he'll want to know what the club's situation is. Obviously, the accounts come out in the last couple of weeks. He'll want to know what the situation is You know, they'll want to look to try and progress. Any manager wants to bring new players in. What funds are available, and yeah, it's taking its time, but I think Ross and the board are not going to make a rash decision and go in there quickly and just get somebody in for, you know, the sake of it. I know the Rangers fans are a bit of grumbling because they've not had it done before the semi-final, but you've got to trust the staff that you've employed in the football club to come in and do the job that they can. And are they capable to try and get this team over the line on Sunday if a new manager doesn't come in? So it is taking its time, and it is a little bit frustrating for the fans, but you've got to trust that the people that are making these decisions are going to make the right one.
Yeah, the general feeling at this and the stories that are emerging, Ruffy, is that he wants to make sure that if he enters the Ibrox, he's got his full team with him. He's got the team
straight away,
the people that he trusts with him, so that he can have an impact and, of course, keep that smooth transition. He's been left with a side that have won the title, are 4 points clear at the top, as Charlie said.
Yeah, I don't think the Rangers board should have any problem with that, because I saw the success that Steven Gerrard had with his backroom staff. You know, everybody was there, they all pulled together, they were all happy together. And I was watching the Sky News this morning and Steven Gerrard was taking his first training session. There must have been about 4 or 5 Rangers, ex-Rangers people there walking in behind him. So that's what he'll be asking for. He'll be saying, look at the success you've had with what Steven Gerrard brought, with all his technical stuff and everything, and give me the same chance. I think Charlie's got a point, that he'll want to know what's happening in January. What is the project in January? Am I going to lose players? Am I going to keep players? Am I going to add players? And I know these questions, quite rightly, have to be answered. And then it depends, you know, if he gets the right answers. But I think he's a stick-on. You know, I think he's just trying to get his team together.
Yeah. The one thing they don't want is an Eddie Howe situation. That, I think, would be annoying. How difficult is it? Is it a blow for Rangers not having somebody in place before the game against Hibs on Sunday, or is it a major bonus for your old boys?
I think it's a major bonus for Hibs. I really do. I feel as if it is Van Bronckhorst and he comes in before that semi-final, what a boost the players would get. The fans would turn up buzzing. You know, there'd be real electricity about the whole stadium and about Rangers, and I think, you know, Hibs would be up against it. But I think if they go into it with an interim management team, you know, Hibs have got to have a chance. You know, and Hibs have a great record against Rangers at semi-finals, particularly. You know, I played in the last one that they won in 2004. So I think Hibs have got an opportunity. But if Rangers have not got the manager in by then, I think that Hibs' chances certainly do increase.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's played in a Hibs winning semi-final against Rangers. Ruffy, because he's bragging away there as if it was the bees.
Not just the last one.
But you played in one as well, didn't you, at Ibrox?
Yes, I did one, yeah. We had quite a good record. We beat Bertie with Thistle. I think we beat Rangers 6 times, which was unheard of.
Yeah.
You know, in my era anyway, at Partick Thistle. But no.
You won at Hibs semi-final as well, did you?
Yeah, won at Hibs, yeah.
Yeah, you played really well that night. You know why? Because it came up. It came up on a YouTube feed or a TikTok feed last night, Ruffy, and I looked and I thought, oh, there's the Bulgin kicking the ball out.
Is that Hanlon, Ruffy?
No, it was at Ibrox.
Yeah, it was at Ibrox. I saved 2 penalties that night.
Some man.
Rangers get 2 penalties? No way.
And that should just ignite our feeds on YouTube. Brilliant.
So you're thinking it's going to be a disadvantage?
Me personally,
without having
no, I don't. I don't think so, because quite simply, you know, with Jermaine Defoe and you know, whoever's left,
I just think the experienced players will take control of what's going on in the situation.
Yeah, it's not going to change dramatically. You know, they're going to. You know yourself, Charlie. If the manager's gone and the players are there, they say to themselves, "Okay, we know what Hibs are capable of." Jermaine Defoe will be a calming influence to say, right, he's been over the course before. This is how we're going to play it. The only thing that could, you know, the only thing.
What happens if he's in Super Sunday in Sky?
Well,
will he miss the game?
He'll have a radio mic. But the only downside to this, Charlie, and this is the only spanner in the works, is quite simply when you are a team of inexperienced management. If Hibs were to start off well, Tam, and get a goal, suddenly, you know, you're starting to think to yourself, Hampden, it's not going according to plan. Then you really have a test where you have to make major decisions to change the outcome of the game. But I'm of the camp that I think Rangers at the moment were stronger. Were they getting back to any kind of form in your mind, or
they were in better form than Hibs?
Yeah.
You know, I think if you're looking at the form, you know, they're beginning to win games again, and big players are scoring goals, and Hibs haven't been doing anything. I mean, Tam can tell, he's been watching them. you know, they were right off the boil. So going into a semi-final, you know, Rangers are definitely the favourites for me. You know, I know things can happen in semi-finals, but the only downside for the Rangers side is if they don't win the game. Because if they don't win the game, certain people will be going, look, you should have had a manager in here for that game.
Yeah.
And that's just a part and parcel of football. People will say that, you know, but I think Rangers will win the game.
Okay, it'll be an interesting one. You can give us your thoughts on it as well, obviously. That's one of the important games. The other one is Celtic against St Johnstone 2. Callum Davison has been talking about that match and looking ahead to the big one as well. St Johnstone. The big news that I think every St Johnstone fan is waiting on is whether they can get Zander Clark on a new deal, because quite a lot of people will be sniffing about him. He's a good goalkeeper. You're a big fan.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I've had rumours that Rangers are looking at him. Obviously, Alan McGregor can't go on forever, and can he be the goalkeeper that takes over that mantle? I know he's quite young, isn't he? 28, 29. I think everybody's waiting to see what Alan's going to do, you know, and it's his decision. But certainly in the last 2 years, he's been, I would say, apart from Alan McGregor and Craig Gordon, he's been the top goalkeeper in Scotland in the last 2 years. So it's a decision that Rangers will have to make, but certainly a decision you'll have to make as well. He won't want to go to Rangers if he's just sitting in his backside every week. So,
am I right in thinking it would help because he's a fan?
Well, that will obviously help, but they've still got a very good goalkeeper. I know Stephen really liked John McLaughlin, so obviously that changes now. Stephen's left, but it's you know, each year that goes by for Alan, then you know the club will obviously be looking for another goalkeeper.
Do you think he'll hang up his gloves in the summer?
Yeah, I think he will. It's just my own opinion. I think he will. I think he'll have one last go to try and win the title, but the lure of the Champions League can maybe just, you know, keep him going, but I don't know. You just don't know what he's thinking. I know he enjoys his golf and that now, so he might be looking at that, but I don't know. He might miss it. We'll see what goes, but it will be a difficult decision for him.
Where does he sit in the top 3 goalkeepers in Rangers history?
I think you've got to put him up there with Gorma. You know, I could only say because I played with him, but I think when you start winning, you know, championship after championship, you know, part of that 9-in-a-row team, Andy Gorham was a phenomenal goalkeeper, but Griggsy will be fighting close, and everybody will argue differently. I would say I would go for McGregor because I played with him, but you know, people will say that, you know, Andy Gorham was a special goalkeeper as well. We better ask this guy because he was in no bad goal himself.
Stuart Kennedy, he's got to get mentioned as well.
Yeah,
Andy Dibble.
Yeah.
Captain Dibble.
Andy Dibble. To be fair,
Ian Closs.
I was just about to say.
Yeah, that's another one I played with.
Can I just mention someone else that I thought was a really great goalkeeper for Rangers? Chris Woods. Chris Woods was a great goalkeeper. Chris Woods I think Chris Woods had well over 1,000 minutes without conceding a goal.
Yeah.
So Chris Woods deserves a mention as well, Ruffy. I thought he was a great goalkeeper.
Yeah.
And part of the Scotland camp now. It's quite funny as you look and you see in the trackside there, you know, I mean, remember the days when we had Terry Butcher there as well.
That's right, with George Burley.
Yeah, and does it matter?
I think you look at now, I think if you get the best people available, it doesn't matter what nationality. You know, we had Stephen Reid earlier, Republic of Ireland, John Carver, obviously, Geordie, Chris Woods now is involved as well, so it's a great...
Alan Russell, England. Scottish guy at England.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, absolutely. Listen, football people, if they do their job, you know, they can go anywhere. As far as Zander Clark, where he's going to end up, I think Callum Davison was just keen to point out that they've really pushed the board out to try and convince him to stay.
We know that obviously the way Zander's performed and getting to the Scotland squad, we know that there's going to be interest in him. We've obviously put our best offer we can to him. You know, Zander knows what I think of him. You know, sometimes it isn't about money and things, it's about other sort of situations. I'm hopeful that Zander will sign, but I know there will be other teams that will be interested in how he's played.
Yeah, it's going to be all about, well, is it ambition or is it money? If Zander Clark is even a small percentage of the same makeup as Ruffy, it's all about the money, Ruffy, really, isn't it?
No, it's not for me, it's all about playing.
Yeah.
I think you asked the wrong person there.
I went away with the Scotland team in the World Cup in Mexico in '86, and I was the third goalkeeper, and I was bored at my skull.
Yeah.
You'd be better leaving me in the house, because I just didn't
But
feel
what
bad.
wage were you getting for your club though?
Not a lot, we didn't get
Well, you were still getting paid.
Just out of
well
curiosity, here's the situation, right? You're Alan Ruff now, right? Right, you're Alan Ruff. You're playing for St John's and you're playing absolutely fantastic.
And by the way, you've won 2 trophies in the last 2 years.
You've had a double, right? So, and you've obviously, people will obviously get you to sign everything, and you're in the Scotland squad. And Rangers or Celtic come calling and they say, look, Ruffy, you know, John McLaughlin's there, McGregor's going to hang up his gloves, we're going to give you $7,000 a week.
5 times your money probably.
Yeah, you're on maybe 1,200.
Well, the first thing I would say is, Charlie would say is, I'm better than McLaughlin. So
You got to back yourself.
Yeah, I know, and I will back myself once I get there.
Yeah.
But I'll take the money.
You're taking the money. You just said a minute ago he's all been
I
playing.
didn't know how much it was. I was
12 minutes ago he said he's all been playing.
Negotiating, I was waiting to see what was going to hit me with.
I know, but what you've got to realise is once I paint the picture for him, then it changes. You know, you've got to drag it out of him. Listen, talking about people staying, what about the contract for Paul Hanlon? I just feel as if Paul Hanlon's been there forever and a day, but it's 2024.
Louis Stevenson.
He's only 31. Paul Hanlon.
Honestly, when I read it, I thought to myself, he must be 35. What are they doing?
I think he was. I think he was a YTS when I was at Hibs. He must have broke through about 2004, 2005. But no, he's been a great servant along with Louis Stevenson. I think he's underrated. I think that some of the Hibs supporters are still not completely sold on him.
At 31?
I know, but for me, I think he's a very, very solid.
It gives him a
SPL
natural
defender.
balance. If they play that 3, it gives him that natural balance.
He can play left sided centre back. He can maybe play left wing, but whatever. I think he's very good, and I think Hibs would struggle to replace him. You know, for the terms of money and what experience he's got. So I think that's a great deal for Hibs. I'm delighted for him. I'm delighted he's get signed up for another 3 years, because you want to keep guys like him, Darren McGregor, David Gray, guys that are real Hibs, you know, supporters and stalwarts and have done well for the club. You want to keep them into their 30s and then maybe go into coaching side. You know, David Gray is already doing it in there. Darren McGregor possibly as well. So you want to keep your Hanlons and your Stevensons in about the club in terms of young boys coming through. What guys to look up to?
Do you rate him, Ruffy?
Yeah, I'm just surprised we always were saying, where's the centre halves? Why have we not got a centre half for Scotland? I'm just surprised he's not been able to make that wee level, that step up. You know, maybe it's just he's not the right partner beside him or whatever, but you're right.
I think he's a better player than Considine, personally.
Yeah.
And Considine get capped, so I think he's unfortunate.
Yeah, but if I'm not... listen, we're here to offer opinions, and I'll offer an opinion on this. No harm to the boy. I think Considine and Hanlon are not, you know, at that international level that you need, Charlie. I mean, I'm no disrespecting them. I mean, great club players, but at that level where we're crying out for people who are playing at a consistent level, I think Porteous has got a chance to break through to it. But I think, you know, if Hanlon was going to do it, he'd have been there as a youngster showing the tremendous potential. Same with Considine. I think Considine get 2 caps out of sentimentality. Great. He'll always be able to look back on it with his family. Hanlon, for me, at 31 now, I think he had a wee sniff of it, but I think the train's left the station there.
Yeah, I think it'll be difficult for him now to get into the squad, but you can never rule it out. You look at, you know, Paul McGinn ends up getting called up and gets capped, and these opportunities come around, so you can never give up on that thought that you might get an opportunity to play for Scotland. So no, I think, let's say, it's a good piece of business for Hibs, for these young lads that are coming through to learn. I think he's also good for Ryan Porteous. Listen, I think Porteous has got a future ahead of him.
I think that story this morning told me that they're ready for Porteous to go. You know, when they're looking at Stuart Finlay, you know, Kilmarnock's at MLS, he might want to come back. I think Hibs and Jack Ross will be thinking to themselves...
I think Jack's been desperate for a centre-back for a good 18 months now, really.
Hibs wanted him before he went to America.
I think
Finlay
he's aware that he's going to lose Porteous.
Possibly, but then I think Darren McGregor, this will be his last season, so I think he's just looking for cover. He's you know, he's got Hanlon there, he's got Porteous there, but apart from that, they put the boy up Wood, young lad Wood up loan, who's I don't think he fancies. So I think he's got to strengthen that area. Yeah, he played one game. He played okay, and then he's not been seen again. So I think he'll get back to Middlesbrough in January. But he needs. I think that he would be a really, really good signing, Stuart Finlay. He's not got a game over there, because I watched MLS. He's at Philadelphia Union. I look at the team lines every week. He's always been a sub. He's never really played. So he's maybe wanting to get back home.
Are you maybe one of the reasons, Tam, why the economy isn't really bouncing back? Because, you know, people go out and they go to nightclubs and pubs now and they take their wives out for meals, but you're watching the MLS as well. I mean, Ruffy, he watches some of it.
I watch everything.
Yeah, he's watching everything.
I was watching a couple of stuff last night in the telly, and the interference in my telly was all over the place, and I said, he's got everything on. It's him. It's him. He's watching every football game in every country and he's interfering with everybody else's tellies.
Yeah, absolutely. Fair play to you, Tam. Hearts, £2 million profit in their annual figures. There's not too many clubs have managed to do that, and of course, let's not forget they have a benefactor. They have a benefactor in there who is not only helping Hearts, he's helped the entire Scottish football.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's happened. You know, the benefactor has balanced the books, you know, and if you've got somebody like that, you're not going to say no. You're going to say, yeah, come on board.
Well, you say the benefactors, let's not forget, the foundation of Hearts have really done deep. They're 1.6 million alone, never mind the 4.7 from other benefactors.
And what they've done is the Hearts Foundation are heads above all the other fan bases, because they couldn't come anywhere near them. You know, that the support that they've given the club is unbelievable, the amount of money that goes in there. And you've still got to balance the books, but when you've got somebody, if you're 300,000 short and they go, there's 300,000, it makes good reading.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's not forget Aaron Hickey sold for 1.6 million to Bologna as well. If you're looking at the figures and you're a Hearts fan, you're thinking, well done. And when you consider where they are in the league table as well, here's some of the financial figures from the Tynecastle club. Net profit 2 million, net assets 20 million, turnover 7.7 million, which is to be expected, down 30% when you consider that fans have only recently been let into the grounds. Player sales up by 940,000 on the previous year. So I think Hearts fans will look at that and say we are in a good place.
Yeah, definitely. I think that, as I said, the sale of Aaron Hickey as well, and listen, they could get a big bounce off that if he moves on again. I'm sure that Hearts have inserted some sort of sell-on clause into his contract. So, as you said, the foundation of Hearts, listen, they pump so much money in. They've got a great support, Hearts, and obviously James Anderson has been putting money in as well. So, listen, if you're a Hearts fan, you know, you're sitting pretty in the league as well. It's a good time to be a Jambo, unfortunately, for me.
Yeah. Nothing like declaring it on the programme. Charlie, will you guys, obviously, with the semi-finals, get a wee break this weekend?
Yeah.
Will that help you work on stuff that you need to do? Because this is a crucial period coming in with lots of games.
Yeah, there's a few games in December for us now. So, yeah, no, we worked on a few things. We played yesterday in a closed-door game, so it's good to get a few minutes. And
is that against Hibs?
Yeah, against Hibs. And then we'll play...
Don't give too much away.
No game at the weekend, and then we'll prepare for Motherwell because it's a huge game.
Yeah. What's the mood like?
The mood seems good. You know, you're playing against a top team in Celtic in the last outing. We got a tough afternoon, but you got to bounce back from that, and a couple of good fixtures coming up for us now. Hibs and St Johnstone the next two, Motherwell and St Johnstone the next two games at home. So you'll be looking to try and win both of them and get us up the league, because we're, you know, Ross County play Hibs as well in midweek, so you know we want to try and keep that gap close, and we want to try and get above Livingston and St Johnstone. So hopefully we can do that.
Yeah,
they'll be glad they're not playing Celtic again for a while. It's that 11 goals in 2 games I've lost against them. And I'm just looking at the table there in front of you that you've pulled up.
Yeah.
You know, 27 goals against, 11 of them's been against Celtic. So if you take that out, it's actually not too bad. But thankfully, you don't play Celtic for a while.
Yeah.
Listen, you're not going to get relegated. We're Rangers and Celtic. It's about the other teams around you. We're a newly promoted team, and we have to start winning games that are teams that are around us, you know. And you know, the result against St Mirren and Hearts the other weeks were good, so we can try and take them into the next 2 games.
Yeah, the one key element here, Ruffy, is that bottom end. There's nobody. I mean, there's a 4-point gap between Ross County and Dundee, but it's not what you would call being completely detached. I'm sure Dundee would like Ross County to be well and truly detached, so they know that they only have to battle it out with the likes of a Livingston or a St Johnstone for a playoff place.
No, Charlie's hit it in the head. In the manager's office, there's all the boards and everything, but there'll be a fixture list. There'll be a fixture list up on the wall, and you'll be looking at it and just doing what Charlie's just doing now. We've got them, maybe no them, but them. they're the ones you've got to win. And if you win these ones, and that takes you up. And we've seen what happens if you win 2 games in this league. I mean, I know it's 6 points, but 6 points can take you right out of where you are.
We play Motherwell and St Johnstone next to it, and then we go to Ibrox on the 4th of December. So it just shows that, doesn't it? You know, you've got to win your home games, and we need to start winning them. And if you can beat the teams that are close to you, like you say, St Johnstone and Livingston, we play them soon as well, so that'll help us. So they're the teams that we have to be beating.
Yeah, there's the reporters we have for PLZ Soccer are out at the semi-finals. Which game am I going to at the weekend then, Tam? There's obviously some good ones.
You'll be going to Motherwell Hearts, wouldn't you?
Unbelievable, I can't believe you picked that. It's incredible. I'm going to see Motherwell against Hearts, Ruffy. You've got to, listen, just before we go, Ruffy, I've got to get your thoughts on the Jags. You've opened a museum, and I think a lot of Jags fans might actually want to go and visit it, because it looks as if there's a real bit of nostalgia there, a trip down memory lane for most of them.
Yeah, there's an era there, the supporters that were at that game 50 years ago, and they're obviously bringing their families along. There's a film show, there's a 15-minute film show, there's cases of loads of memorabilia of all the players for that 50 years, plus there's in the museum room, there's a history of all the games leading up to the final, and just a lot of things for what fans love to see. You know, they love to come in. And they get a half and a half as well, you know, which is.
What do you mean by that?
They get a half a whiskey and a half a beer as well.
For going into the museum?
Yeah.
When you pay to get in?
No, you don't pay, Evans.
So it's a tenner with Partick Thistle. Ruffy said you'll get it for a fiver.
It's free. You're free to get in.
So it's free to get into the museum.
And when you get in, you get a wee half and a half pint.
Oh, they queued at the door. Mary Hill.
I did not know that, Ruffy.
Yes, you get that.
That's all good.
And actually, in the first one we had, me and Jerry Britton were at the front of the door, and Jerry's got a list of everybody who's obviously come in, and when they come in, they get a wee disc to get their half and their half. This boy went, I don't think I've locked my car. Went away and they come back. And Jerry's like, aye, that'll be shining.
But that was for the launch. Do you get a half
That's
and a
all
half
the time,
now?
yeah.
There'll be a stampede.
Sterling.
That's not well known.
What time does that open? At 8 in the morning?
There'll be a stamp. By the way, can I just say something to you? Me and Charlie will have wigs on with glasses looking for another disc. That is magnificent.
Jack Victor for still game.
Can I just say something to you? Charlie,
It's a Jakey's paradise.
if we're going to a nightclub, by the way, we'd be in there for about an hour, just keep coming back in and then head off to the club. That is absolutely magnificent. Well done, Ruffy. Go to the museum, you get a wee half and a half, and you get a chance to see a bit of nostalgia and some good Jags memorabilia. There you are. Well worth it. Hopefully you've enjoyed the chat. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We've got some prizes coming up as we head into the festive period. I haven't mentioned the word yet, but as we head into the period coming up, we'll be giving away lots of goodies that I think you might want to get involved in. Tell your friends, share the stream, tell people that you can get us on YouTube. The audience growing now as we are regularly and exclusively on the YouTube channel. More and more subscribers. Hit the button if you can, and if you hit the bell, you'll get notifications of when we're on live, and you can download the PLZ Soccer app as well. Good to have Charlie here. He's got a wee well-earned break at the weekend. Tam, have you got plans for the weekend, son?
Just the Hibs game on Sunday at Hampden.
Yep, absolutely. Are you working at it?
Yes, I'll be there.
It's fantastic. We always like him to get a wedge, Ruffy, don't we? We get worried.
It's been a while, by the way. It's been 26 days since the Hibs played.
Is that right?
Oh, it's a big hole in my finances, that.
There is a huge hole.
Going on yesterday's
Toast and beans.
To be fair, by the way.
performance.
Yeah, brilliant, Charlie. It's not looking good for them. To be fair, I did see a settee coming out of the house, so I thought to myself, maybe he's just the hot tub will never leave by the way.
That's unplugged the electricity. Can I pay it this month?
That's absolutely brilliant. Everything has to be unplugged to make sure the satellite brings them the MLS games. On that note, from Tam, Charlie, Ruffy and myself, Peter Martin, thanks for watching.